From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, November 25th, 2016. Silver is trading at $16.55 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,190 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 0.34 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $747. Antiwar.com reports when Iraqi forces initially started advancing towards Mosul, officials were upbeat about a quick victory. Millions of leaflets were being dropped warning civilians not to bother fleeing from the massive city. This was meant to make up for the lack of preparation for large numbers of displaced, but also seen as unnecessary since they thought everything would be wrapped up fairly quickly. Now all those civilians who did not flee are finding themselves increasingly in the line of fire. Iraqi military commanders are complaining the offensive is going slow because the presence of so many civilians limits the use of tanks and artillery, but reports suggest they're increasingly using heavy artillery anyhow. The Islamic State was not particularly keen on letting civilians flee, and with Iraq warning them not to go either, many saw flight from the city as risky. Yet similar Iraqi offensives against other the Islamic State-held cities caused massive destruction, and staying was clearly a risk as well. Hospitals in Mosul are already facing a growing number of casualties, and Iraq and the U.S. seem to be looking to shift blame back and forth, with the U.S. saying Iraq should reverse its stance and order all the civilians out of Mosul. Iraq, for its part, insists the offensive would go better if the U.S. were carrying out more airstrikes. While Iraqi officials ultimately continue to insist the offensive is going more or less as planned, the same problems which slowed previous offensives are recurring in Mosul, and as usual, the answer seems to be escalate the destruction and shift the blame. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports Americans can expect to spend an average of $752 each on Christmas gifts this year, according to a recent Gallup poll. The figure is in line with the combined average for the past 7 years, but down from the $830 spending estimate last year. Since 2010, the first full year after the economic recession, the spending estimate revealed each November has varied very little, averaging $751. The poll said 30% of U.S. adults intend to spend $1,000 or more on Christmas gifts, and 23% expect to spend less than $250. 9% of respondents say they do not celebrate the holiday and expect to spend nothing. When that group is excluded from the calculation, the average amount gift purchasers plan to spend increases to $831. Gallup commented that since the poll was taken immediately after the November elections, a time of increased confidence in the economy, the enthusiasm has not involved plans to spend more on holiday shopping. The survey was based on telephone interviews conducted November 9th through November 13th with a random sample of 1,019 adults over the age of 18 living in all 50 U.S. states and the District of Columbia. The margin of sampling error for mean spending is plus or minus $72 at the 95% confidence level. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo, and would ultimately come to know exactly what it means to survive. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports 4 California inmates cut through the bars of a second-story jail window and rappelled down the building's side in an escape bid, according to authorities on Thursday. 2 of the inmates who broke out of the Santa Clara County Jail in San Jose were caught immediately, but the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office said the others remain at large. Officials said a massive search that includes dogs and helicopters was underway for inmates Rogelio Chavez and LaRon Campbell. The inmates cut through the window's bars on Wednesday night. The statement by officials did not say how the prisoners got their hands on tools to remove the bars, and authorities said no cutting tools were found in the cell after the escape. The sheriff's department said the inmates are believed to have escaped from an established containment zone around the jail, citing surveillance footage that captured the fleeing men. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.